Hey guys, howdy Judy. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, see if anybody pipes in. I just need to know you guys can hear me. If you could put it in the chat real fast so I don't babble before you do. I see some familiar faces. Nice to see you guys. Thank you, Dimple. I hear you. Thank you, lady. All right. All right. Happy Wednesday, guys. Favorite day of the week. Used to be because it was Happy Hump Day. Hump of the week. Back when I used to hump it to someone else's office. Fortunately, I don't do that anymore. So, all right. So, anything exciting this week? Anybody? I see. I'm just going to go down here. I see a new member, T.I. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. I don't think we've met unless you changed your name, which people do periodically in here. We got Shiloh in the house. Thank you, Shiloh. Valerie's in the house. Nice to see you, Valerie. Stephen Jones. Stephen, have we met? You sound familiar. Mike Page is in the house. I know Mike. Let's see. Dimple, of course. Michelle M is in the house. Hi, Michelle. Mike, you can't hear me? Mike. Now you can hear me. Okay. Maybe you had your sound down. I don't know. But half the time it's my own fault. So I'm glad it's all working out well. Okay. So let's hop to it. Anybody? It looks like Shiloh's got maybe a question. So I'm going to pop that in here. I think allergies are starting already. That can't really be though, right? Because we're snow covered. Shiloh says, by the way, there's a dog in my house right now named Shiloh. She's not mine, but I babysit her with my other zoo because her adopted dad has a job and we want him to be able to go to it. He's a young adult, just trying to get his footing in. So that was going to be a big worry for him, if not because where he lives, they didn't want him to keep her out of the crate. So here she just tears it up with my dogs, leaving my house the way it is. All right. So Shiloh says 100 P&T. Okay, thank you for your service, Shiloh. Shiloh means 100% disabled with the VA. With PTSD due to MST. I am so sorry about that. That's horrible. Shiloh has a high school education, last worked in 2023. I was in customer service, but stopped due to worsening. I worked 15 years at home due to this. Okay, so you're doing customer service from home for 15 years. Can you guide? Well, that's not really enough for me to go on. How old are you, Shiloh? I can give you some possible tips based on the law that would apply. Let you know what the law would apply at your age, which if you don't already know it, but you might actually already know that. And you're welcome, Shiloh. Charlotte says, thank you for all you do. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for all you do, actually. Let's see. Valerie says, good morning. Question for you. So, Shiloh, if you give me more details, I can try to, remember what you just said. Valerie says, good morning, Stephanie. Question for you. Have you heard anything about Social Security going digital March 7th? I don't know what that means, going digital. So you'd have to explain to me what that means, Val. Going digital. I mean, it's a lot digital now. So are you thinking there's like an edition coming out? Which could be. I haven't really been on top of it. I've been majorly into hearings right now. So none of the extra stuff has been going on in great magnitude. Stephen says, similar question as Shiloh. 100% P&T. Thank you for your service, Stephen. Truly, truly. Seeking help with the VA, but work has become difficult at best. Yeah, so you're still working, but it's getting tougher. Goal is to hang on until I'm 55 and then stop working. I'm 52. Thanks. Yeah, 100% P&T. It depends what it's on, of course. If it's very physical, and depending on what work you're doing now, I mean, there's so many unanswered questions, right? But it is easier at 55 than for 52, granted. From a physical standpoint. From the mental, it's all very difficult. You have to be really, really almost like you can't negotiate your community by yourself. Mental. because, and that's being very broad. I know that's not going to cover every single situation, but I'm going to talk about the generality. The severity for mental with no physical problems whatsoever. Someone can lift 100 pounds, walk for 6 hours, to be disabled based on mental. And again, I'm saying this as a general kind of rule of thumb, guys, not like there's not exceptions. It is almost like you have to have supervision because you're just not reliable going about doing your needed business in the community. It could be, banking, waiting, like could be the extent that you can't deal with other people. Similarly to something like severe agoraphobia, if it's proven. I mean, that's the hard part, is the proof, right? Because nobody in the doctor's office sees the agoraphobia. If you have a telehealth provider, though, of duration, I'm not talking about 3 months, I'm talking about years of being agoraphobic. Since there's a 12-month duration anyway, you can't just go and have a problem that is disabling for 4 months, and there's no reason to think it will continue to be that disabling. So I was getting some dust off my keyboard, which gets so dirty so fast, and it's very new. But anyway, hang in there, Stephen Jones. Or if you want me to take a look at it, you can always shoot us up an eval. And I'll just say your name in there, like just type it in one of the areas you could type, and they'll get it right to me. Okay? Mike Page, good afternoon. So Stephen's question was, it's mental health. Yeah, that's hard. You guys have got to focus. Stephen, I'm going to say this for you. I'm not sure how old Shiloh is. If you're over 50, that's where you get the benefit of the 50 to 54 more lenient rule. It's going to call it that. It's still hard to meet. You have to prove that you can't do light work. It's okay if you can do sedentary work, but you have to not be able to do light work. And that's all physical reasons. So light work, remember, is being on your feet 6 out of 8 hours, generally speaking, and lifting up to 20 pounds, at least occasionally throughout the day, which is 1/3 of the day, 2-3 hours a day, up to 20 pounds. That's more than a couple gallons of milk at one time. So I would really, really suggest you and anybody else who's over 50 really take a good, and I was just working on this, trying to get like approval ideas and stuff like that on the simplest of forms, because I mean, I have it with my clients too, where a new client or a potential new client isn't really looking at all their physical stuff because they're honed in on that PTSD, or they're honed in on the anxiety, if they have a severe anxiety disorder as they see it. And they're 50 something. And I'm like, come on, I'm 50 something. Now, granted, I'm in the uppers, but I'm like, come on, you have to have, your body can't be like it was when it was 20. Let's get to that nitpick. And some people resist. They're like, for goodness sake, the reason I can't work is because I'm like, I get it. I don't really care. I'm talking about meeting the SSD rules. That's my job for you. So my clients are going to be seeing this soon. They're probably going to hate me, but it's my job. I don't care if they hate me. And it's super easy. It's not even complicated. We have a body chart right now, and it's really annoying for them and for us. So I think this might be a little bit better in the initial, to keep them focused on, and very simple. Like they don't have to like do a lot of explanation, because I think when you give people a space to explain, and they've been living with this really, really, really troublesome condition for a long time, they want to go off. They want to say a lot. So totally understandable. So this might rein it in a little bit more, so that the things that we need to do with it do not take us more time than we need to get to the crux that we need for the legalities of it. Not to say the other stuff isn't valuable for other reasons, but anyway, I'll share that too. If anybody wants it to help look at, I share the old body chart with people all the time, but this is going to be a little bit more concise stuff. And so it's getting worked on right now. I expected this afternoon. I mean, it was something that I've been bugging about. So it's like this morning, I'm just like, come on, I can't stand this. I need this tightened up a little bit. So we hashed that out, and it was pretty good. So I want you guys to focus on never stop taking care of your mental. Now it's time for your case to focus on that pinky finger that has trigger finger, or your thumb, or and as I always say, you guys have heard me say it many times. Go through all the body parts. That's why body chart is very helpful. And which body parts are not as strong, fast, comfortable, endurable, pain-free, strong, did I say strong? As it was when you were 20. People don't think of it. They're like, well, I'm 45 or I'm 55. So, of course, it's not going to be. I'm like, then why didn't you put it down? Well, it's not a disability. I wasn't hurt from the accident. I'm like, so SSA doesn't care where you get your injury from. It doesn't have to be from a car accident. It doesn't have to be from a work-related injury. Age degeneration can be your friend in this scenario. I hate it otherwise, and I have a lot of aches and pains right now, so I could say that with some assurity because I woke up the other day. I got up a little earlier than I was going to, only a little bit. I was awake and I was doing my morning, getting my head on, and I heard the dogs downstairs. I'm like, oh no, tell me they didn't get into something. Like someone left the gate or something. And I moved. I felt a little twingy in my lower, that's my right side, right? My lower right backside, like literally almost down by my tailbone, maybe a little higher. And by the time I got out of bed and was trying to make my way down the stairs, I'm like, oh no. This happens every few years. It's very infrequent. That's why I say I don't have a back rub. And blessedly, I learned 20 years ago, pop forward ibuprofen and don't move. Get in your recliner and it will slowly, it takes days to get over the whole thing, but it'll get me where I can move about gently and get done what I need to get done. So, and then every day it becomes a little less, and it's just more of a tightness that's starting to loosen up. It's very strange. But anyway, I digress. But those things are really important for those of you that have it chronically, which I don't, obviously. But if I did, that would be definitely something to think about. By the way, Tatch is over here, but she's sleeping. I gave her some, she wanted a cookie, and I gave it to her. And you know how sugar makes you have a second of energy, and then, ooh. So she's in the, ooh. Right, Taj? So she scooches over from this end to the other end because the heater, the little thing at the bottom of the wall is there, and she's right next to the wall now. So I think that's why she does it. It keeps her extra warm. Okay, so guys, focus on those physical things. Go through the body parts and imagine every body part when you were 20 compared to now. Imagine work. And another thing, imagine using it all day long. 8-hour day with a 15-minute break, half-hour lunch, 15-minute break in the afternoon. Can you do that 8 hours with those breaks? If not, then that body part is not as good as it was when you were 20. That is the general way to look at it. That's how I do it, and that's where I get my nagging influence on my clients, but that's how we get our rates. That's how we get it to happen. Okay. Stephen Jones, never met. I have a memorable name. You have a very nice name. Same initials. Ona, on a journey. I'll say Ona is in the house. I made it to another live stream. Glad to see you back again. Oh, Michelle, you're not working. Good. You're a trooper, my girl. Christina's in the house. Hi, Christina. Good to see you. Dimple says, I think it would be easier for me to fill out a body chart for what doesn't hurt. That's great, except eventually everything's going to have to be explained. So you may as well stick to the ones that hurt. But it's nice if you can just like check them off, not have to go and describe a lot of stuff at the present time. Because remember, what is going to be good narrative is only what's going to be, not that we don't have the function report for a little explanation too, but it's what's in the medical records that's going to pretty much define the case. The medical records are the foundation of the evidence as a matter of law. And so, as we always say, the function report, as important as it is to get it done right so you don't sink your ship, and it can also help support a win later, at the lower levels, it's really more of a in my opinion. Can we deny based on some of these answers? Do any of them conflict with what the claim said and what the medical evidence says that we have? So you have to be really careful not to misword something in a way that could be misinterpreted. Danny says, yeah, Danny says I could write 500 pages of stuff, SOJ. I'm SOJ, obviously. Yes, I know you could, Danny. I'm well aware. And nobody wants to read it because people only want to get to the nit and gritty. Life is busy. People have caseloads. The adjudicator has probably a ton. So what you want to do is be able to focus on the parts that are going to make the difference for your case. If you get them lost in some weeds about your, you're venting about something else that isn't vocationally strong in terms of the legalities, you just diverted their attention away from what does on their limited time. So that's why I think it's really important to focus, which I don't want you to confuse with, and lawyers all have different ideas on this. I know me and Jonathan have different ideas on this. When you talk about your impairments, do you include big and small? I do. I don't include a hangnail. That would be a joke. But I know like some lawyers would prefer to just put the 3 or 4 biggest things and then leave everything else alone. It'll come out in the wash with the medical records, which it should. I feel a little bit differently like that. Like, let's say they have a really bad cervical spine, really bad lumbar. They have severe migraines, and they're missing a hand. That would be 4 things. They're pretty major. Doesn't mean they're going to win. And no, a missing hand doesn't make you win. Let's say they also have really bad ankles, have had ankle surgery, maybe heel spurs. I'm going to put down foot problems. Now, I will keep it kind of sometimes general. Like someone was saying on one of the posts, an adjudicator was in there, and I really wanted him or her to come on. We could do a pre-recorded on things that he knows people would want to discuss. Doesn't have to be live where he's put on the spot. I really, if any adjudicator again is paying attention, and I did offer it. I don't think that he responded, but that would be great. Even if, or a field office person, like they could talk about something that they know people are interested in, and it would be their little platform of sorts. But he said, when people don't put all of their specific, like keep it vague, knee problem, and they don't say right or left knee, then we have to figure out which one it is before we get x-rays. And I'm like, part of me was like, I didn't get a chance to talk to him because I don't think he responded, but my thought is, but by the time you're ordering a consultative exam and x-rays, you've already gotten the records. And the reason why this isn't universal for me, but there are many times where I keep it knee or knees. Probably knees is probably the smarter thing when in doubt, because sometimes it's not clear from what the client put, and we're actually pumping it out the door. And sometimes clients will say, it's very rare that they have 2 perfect knees if they have 1 bad one. It really isn't, particularly when they're over the age, like I said, of 40, 50. So when they were going to say just 1 knee, now it's not that they're barred from it coming up later, but it's going to be minimized and say they didn't even claim it on their thing. So how bad can it really be? Well, the better knee, which they didn't mention because it's the better knee, that also can prevent walking for 6 hours a day. It can certainly add to the really bad one. You don't even have a really good one to limp along with. So for this reason, I do not like to minimize unless I have reason to believe they have a bionic knee on the other side. I do not like to cut that road off early and make that impression early, because that is what the evidence building is supposed to do. That's going to define it. So I don't want to predefine it and then also have them pigeonholed into they never mention it in their application. I've seen adjudicators, even ALJs, mention it when they downplay something later because it wasn't put in there. Now, that's not to say that people that do the 1 to 4 impairments and different, that really wouldn't affect that so much. I'm really talking about when it's 1 knee or 2, or 1 elbow or 2, or both hands with carpal tunnel versus the one they're talking about that's really bad is the one that's with their strong hand. And they think about it more because that's the one they write with. But the other one is not available 100% either. So Because if a job exists where all you need is one good arm, one good hand, we didn't disprove now that they can't do that. We certainly didn't allege it because we never mentioned that she had a problem with the other hand. Oh, she does. She has carpal tunnel that would restrict her to not being able to do constant handwork with that other arm, maybe just frequent. Well, if that it eliminates, that's the way you can eliminate all the jobs that require constant use of the hands, or that hand, or at least one hand, because now she can't do constant with either hand. So there's all the, I know that sounds a little confusing, guys, but that's why I don't do that. Christina is giving a nice big reminder here. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm getting better with reading those out loud, right, Christina? I used to be very shy about that, and then people were reading me the Bride Act. Adam's in the house. Nice to see you, Adam. Christina also says, Christina should just, she should be paid for this. Share the live stream. It helps the channel. That's probably true. Kevin Johnson's here from Tennessee. Kevin is one of the big winners of the last recent times, right, Kevin? And I don't say that in jest, guys. He's just prevailed, so very happy for him. And I better be right about that, or else I just made an arse of myself. Yeah, Michelle, I don't think I saw your question. Let me see. I'm going to scroll up, Michelle, because goodness knows I could have. Nope, no question there. Michelle, you told me when you could hear me. You told me you're not working, which I kind of figured if you're here, you're not working. But I don't see any. No, Michelle, only the one. Can you see it when you scroll up, Michelle? Anyway, Michelle put it down. I think she repeated it. So that's good. And by the way, we're low on questions here, guys. So if you have questions, any of you people that aren't commenting, please feel free to ask a question. All right. Michelle says, when in the initial phase of application, I know that working SGA will disqualify you. What about the trial work, which is a smaller amount? Okay. Trial work is fine. In terms of being able to prevail on your case. All right. It will use up your trial work for the things that come after you've prevailed. So you can do it. It's fine. And you can still win your case. It should have no bearing any more than any other work is. They're going to be still, be considering all your medicals and if you're disabled. So it's totally fine in my opinion. When you're done and you prevail, they are going to be looking back. They have to do this calculation automatically to find out, okay, she's prevailed. How many trial work months, if any, does this person have? So after she applied, and onset after that, how many months did she work TWP or more? And if there are 9 in the 5-year period, which presumably it's going to be within the 5-year period, that whole range we just talked about. Let's say it's 5, but then you're continuing to do it forever after. You're going to hit your 9 months. You will be out of your trial work period, which is fine, as long as you never go over SGA. If you go over SGA, as soon as you hit your trial, so we're going to have a little lesson here on trial work period, guys. The moment you hit your 9th month, they don't have to be consecutive, here, there, and everywhere. 9 months of earning over TWP, which is somewhere in the $1,100 range. You are no longer enjoying a trial work period. Trial work period has some protections in that they can't use your work and look at it to decide that you aren't disabled like you said you were. So the trial work period protects you in that way because you're trialing something. You're trying to see if you can do more vigorous stuff. All right. So that protection is over, but they found you disabled despite knowing about that work. So once the month after your trial work period ends, you are in your EPE, extended period of eligibility. All right. It's a 3-year period, 36 months. And that doesn't change. Any month that you accidentally hit SGA or intentionally, you owe that money back to you owe your Social Security disability check for that month back to the SSA. Now, they're not going to figure it out for many months later, so sometimes you owe them a crap load. You're not permanently off disability yet. You could be CDR'd for the work, of course. They're going to look to see if you're still disabled even though you popped over SGA and had to send some back and da-da-da-da, for those 3 years, that's how that works. So I always say, just don't go over SGA. Just don't go over SGA. Because you're going to have to pay the money back, and it's just red flags. All right. And SGA won't necessarily get you kicked off of it because it could be unsustained, you know? And they look at everything to see if your medical still would be like, no, she's still not able to do full-time work. She just was able to kick it up here and there a couple months. Okay, great. Once the 3 years is over, the first time you do SGA, you're booted off of Social Security Disability. Because your extended period of eligibility, which means you can go, I get the money this month, not this month, you know, I have to pay back these, that's over. And the first time you work SGA, you will be ceased. And then if you continue to work SGA, so be it, great. Maybe you're back in the workforce. Awesome. If you find that you suddenly lost that job or can't do that job went away, you can ask for expedited reinstatement. And this is because the only reason you lost the disability was because you earned too much and went SGA once you were out of your extended period of eligibility. It was the money reasons, not a medical reason, not a medical improvement. Then you could do the reinstatement as long as it's within 5 years. Expedited reinstatement. It's not really that fast, but anyway, it's different than it's in theory different than full-blown new application. If you have to do full-blown, you can still do that too. You can reapply, but if you have the benefit of expedited reinstatement, I would take it. Okay, because they know to look at it a little differently. You've already been determined to be disabled. You made a little bit too much, whatever. Okay. How's that little lesson on TWP and EPE and all that? All righty. Let me go back up. Where were we? All right. I hope that helped, Michelle. There are plenty of videos, by the way, guys, on child work period. I say plenty. There's a handful. Child work period, SGA, all that business. Kimball says, I've been focusing on my dominant hand due to the RA, but lately I've realized that the left shoulder is limiting as much or more on the right hand. Follow up with it. Doo-doo, orthopedics. You know what I say? Simple. But that's what I'm talking about. When you start thinking about it, you're like, oh yeah, that's not perfect either. David says, what are the chances of losing SSDI at age 64? Well, I can give you an example of when you're definitely going to lose SSDI at 64 if you start working SGA. And if you earn SGA more than 6 months or hit 6 months, for sure you're going to lose it because now you're no longer disabled. So if you hand them the platter of, hey, SSA, I'm no longer disabled because I'm clearly able to earn SGA because I just did it for 6 months, you've just basically, you know, caused yourself to lose your SSD. So the work is the big thing. If you're just talking about the chances otherwise, I would say it's not great unless you're doing something and someone turns you in, like you're working under the table 40 hours a week. It's not showing up. You know, those things have happened. We've actually reported on the front row review about it. And it was someone in their 60s. And I think they had recovered from cancer years prior. And they kept saying they were still disabled. And they had, I don't know how they had the medical records to substantiate it, unless someone wasn't paying attention. And when I forget if he bought a business, I forget what kind of work it was, but eventually, and he lied about it, that he was doing it to continue getting benefits while working, he gets full-time or whatever. And he got prosecuted. I believe he got prosecuted, and of course he lost his benefits, and he has a overpaid. But he was prosecuted not because he erred and forgot. It's because he actually affirmatively lied on future paperwork. CDRs, are you working? No. I mean, you know, like, so I don't ever want people to be super afraid of making a mistake and feeling like they have to tiptoe all the time. It's when these things are deliberate fraud. It's not looking for people and trying to entrap them or whatever. You know what I mean? Tanya's in the house. Hi, Tanya. I don't think we know each other, do we? Tanya says, I have a copy of my hospital records. The discharge summary doesn't make any notation about me being sent home with oxygen supplementation. Isn't that pathetic, Tanya? What do? I don't want to appear that I made that up. Well, you mean did you just apply and you put down that you are on oxygen? There's got to be a prescription out there. You've got a copy of your records and you don't see it. Oh, the discharge summary. Then it's got to be somewhere in there. Look through the whole. You got the whole set. I would also, because there should be some sort of prescription, where you're getting it refilled, all that kind of stuff. But you could also write a letter to the doctor who did the discharge and say, I'd like my record corrected. It wasn't just oxycodone he gave me or whatever, or albuterol, because you said oxygen, I'm thinking you. You also prescribed me oxygen supplementation, and I have a machine and whatever, and you neglected to put that in the discharge, and I think that's an important fact, so please correct my records. You know, say it politely. You know, weird lighting going on in here. Isn't that weird? It's like coming into the windows. Whew, that's all that snow we had. Brightening up. Let's see. I don't know why. It seems very strange. Okay. It wasn't like that before, right, guys? Dimple says, just curious about someone with a seizure disorder, which has caused her to miss work to the point of fearing she will be losing her job. She's 44, had seizures for 25 years, and lately meds not helping. Well, it will depend on how frequent they are. If, let's say she's having a seizure every 6 months, can't drive. If she's driving, then she's kind of speaking out of both sides of her mouth. Because if you're really afraid of having more seizures, you're not going to be hopping behind the wheel. Agree? I mean, it just is, or else you don't care about other people's lives, potentially. If she's having them like weekly, she should maybe read the seizure. There's like seizure listings and see if she can meet a listing. If she can't meet a listing because it's not quite that frequent, but it's still evident that she's having them, let's say she's having one a month or whatever the standard, you know, whatever she has, just having it well documented. It's another hard one because a lot of times the seizures are occurring at home. So it can be a little bit of a problem in terms of proving it. But of course, she's been to a neurologist. She should be treating regularly with a neurologist, reporting every seizure. I report every seizure to my doctor. Start building a, you know, almost like a journal of it. I would be keeping a seizure journal while we're speaking of that. So that's something she could do too. And when a seizure journal, it's just like a little tiny Dollar Tree or dollar store calendar with an S, you know. And then she could also do, if she has like symptoms after a seizure, she's got to go lie down and take a nap for 2 hours. I would put like SZ and then like S 2 hours or something, like sleeping or bed or whatever. Andy's in the house. Hi, Andy. Good to see you again. Cannot forget that name, Andy Griffith. Hi, Stephanie. I just wanted to give a shout out to the U.S. men's and women's hockey teams. Congratulations on the gold medals. That was awesome, wasn't it? Oh my God! And the way they celebrated, and they were so pro-America. It was fabulous. And how about last night, Andy? They came to the State of the Union. They were invited, and they all came, and it was adorable. I'm like, what nice young men! Yay! And it's a big difference from some of the other Olympic. Well, most of them didn't win, but you know, their little negativity. So that was awesome. That was really heartwarming. Valerie says, what I mean is that they want to cut down on in-person visits and conduct. They've been doing that for years, so that's not a big deal. That's not a change. That's not a change. So yeah, it's all good. They know they have to have in-persons because there are people that, particularly seniors, particularly who don't have a loved one who does things for them. So the in-persons are always there. This has been going on, I want to say 3 or 4 years, probably since, maybe, sorry, COVID is what, 6 years ago now? Yeah, it's been, I mean, it's something they wanted to do before then, but, you know, getting the federal government or any government really to go faster than a slug when it comes to technology. And they always have the oldest, most. Someone that I'm very close to works for a government agency, a government, not an agency. Well, I guess it's an agency, a department, and talks about how they still see DOS on their computer. DOS. I think I was a kid, and you guys know how old I am. DOS, really? Oh, too funny. But yeah, and it's been working really well because they've improved the online capacities and things you can get automatically, I guess, by phone too, so much that most people that can prefer it. People that can do not want to be driving, spending gas, waiting in line, risking a car accident, all this other stuff to go in person, if they have a lot of that stuff now available at their fingertips. And that was the goal. They're never going to get rid of all of it because some people are never going to be able to do that, or they have a phobia about it. And those people need to be, accommodated, of course. But yeah, the more that can be done, doesn't have to be done, but can be done online, virtual, at your fingertips, boom. God bless it. That will be awesome. And it really frees up time for the people that can't do it. So when people say, well, I shouldn't have to do that. Well, that's true. But if you're, if you want to be virtuous, someone wants to virtue signal, I'd say, why don't you just do that online since you can, and let the people that can't not have to wait behind your butt in line at the SSA office because you don't feel like it and you just feel like getting out for the day. You know what I mean? If they can, more people can stop taking up that time that's needed for like very disabled people, seniors that don't even know how to get online and don't have, say, devoted children or somebody who will help them, then by all means, I would do it. I would step back. I do that when I'm in the waiting room. If I'm sitting down and I see someone that I think looks like they need it more than me, my butt's up, doctor's office, wherever. I'm like, please stay. I'm grateful for the fact that I can do that I'm fortunate enough to do that. So I'm certainly not going to insist I keep my seat because I was there first. And I know you didn't suggest all that, Valerie. I'm just kind of expounding on the whole thing. Dimple says I can keep the snow. Don't you have snow too? Oh, maybe because you're west. We only got like 4 inches when we had this big blizzard. I was talking about the blizzard on Sunday. I was like, oh, it started. Nothing. And I think my Jersey peeps got a lot more, maybe even south of me. Yeah, we were nothing. Although my daughter and her significant other got to make a grand or so shoveling for the neighborhood. So I'm like, good. Now put it in your bank and do not spend it because they tend to spend it as soon as they make it. Ridiculous. Tanya says, this is the first time I catch your video live. Oh, like it? Oh, well, I'm glad you came. Very glad. We are generally every Wednesday at 1 p.m., Tanya. I'm getting some interruptions with hearings that are unfortunately being scheduled on or out time. I've had to shift a few things around. But I did start wisening up about now that the advance notice availability that we have to do for the OHO offices for scheduling, it's 5 months out. Now that I'm kind of, that 5 months that I didn't do it before is now ending. I've since changed it. So hopefully that means there'll be no more, at least hearing interruptions. There's other things that I can't necessarily help at times, but Dibble says, I will let her know. I think that's her friend with the seizures. Thank you. I've also referred her to start following your channel too. Oh, great. Yes, the more the merrier for sure. Outdoor Living Channel says, hey, I say hey back. Outdoor says, I have an ALJ hearing in May. Woohoo. Is there any way I can speed that up? Well, you could waive the 75-day notice. You could tell them, hey, I'm willing and able to waive. Of course, if you have an attorney, you better speak to him or her first because that's, he or she can. I would also suggest before you do that, and do this anyway, if let's say you're self-representing, if you have not been robustly getting that ALJ every piece of document, you've not been going to get those updated MRIs and getting everything you could for the strongest case before the ALJ, why would you want to speed it up? You know what I mean? Like if you have more work to do that you slacked off on before, not knowing you should do it, perhaps that would be a reason not to speed it up, right? But if you have all that and you're like, no, it's good, then you could contact them and say, can I waive the 70? I know you guys scheduled me. They might say, no, it's already scheduled, but you can give it a shot. You already scheduled me for a hearing in May, but I'm willing to, sometimes they would send these waivers 20. I never do a 20. I never waive the 75 days. That's like a very, very valuable period of time. And if you want a brief, that's when it's going to be finalized. But otherwise, if it was before that, you could have done it. So it might be possible. Give it a shot. I would call their office and say, hey, I'd like to, is it too late for me to try to get an earlier hearing and waive the 75 day, and whenever he can get me in, because then maybe you could even waive 20. I don't know. Give it a shot. But again, if you have a representative, let's not do that. Or you'll be losing a lot of value there. KU Thunder. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, KU. Christina says, I don't understand why you're shy when you are the vet. Oh, you're so sweet. And give us free information every week. Thank you for your loyalty to us. Awesome. You are very, because I see what some people do out there and it makes me sick. The clickbait and the titles that I see on some of these videos, like trying to scare people, and they put something completely false in a title. And they say, they could set the SSA on fire and I'll be gone tomorrow. Even though, and that's what their header says. It's going to be, like, I'm exaggerating, but some of them are really bad. And I'm just like, if people want the information, that's all that's all it should be about. And Stephen Thompson, I know a Stephen Thompson. Probably not the same one. I guess it's not the most uncommon name. Thank you. It looks like he just donated to, I don't know what that would be. What is that called, Stephen? It says, another question for you. I was told I need to have a CE. I signed the paperwork, then faxed it. I get another letter saying, are you sure you're going to show up? What's going on? They always do that. It's always a confirmation that you're still going to show up. I think it's their way of reminding you, reminding people that they have a CE, because people, I guess, forget. So that's nothing new. That's just been going on for 20 years. So, and if you think about it, it's kind of a waste. I know I always go back to wasting money, guys, but some of the more egregious things are I get duplicates from the DDS in New Jersey. They just love sending two of the exact same letter on the exact same key, all duplicates, everything, in big envelopes that must cost $5 to send, That's a glitch. I told them about it 15 years ago. I never got a response. I'm like, well, then that's your problem. But I tried to save New Jersey Disability Center, because remember the staff is New Jersey workers, right? So like each DDS is state workers. They're just outsourced to do federal work. Try to save them money, but they don't even seem to care. So that's probably why New Jersey's kind of stuck in some other ruts it's stuck in. But the one about the reminders, that is normal. I would kind of wish they would just stop it too, because if someone isn't going to remember their first reminder when it's set up, are they still going to, what are you going to do? Send them a third, a fourth, and a fifth? I think now with texts, even the old people are using texts, kind of, usually. I'm just not so sure that we should be bending over that much at the cost of the fund. I mean, it's literally that Social Security disability funds that you guys paid in for, and I pay in for, going to these administrative costs when they want to send out 3 reminders, because, well, maybe they're not being inclusive enough if they don't. I don't know what their deal is. I think you send them the letter, and now they have the SSA account, and now they have the texting and all this other stuff and emails. How many of you have gotten the letter? I haven't seen it universally yet, but from a DDS, I saw my client got it the other day. Do you give us permission to email you or text you? Just reminders. Like, absolutely, you should do that. So I think it's good. That's the technology that's really, really important. And I just feel like the ink, the paper, the stamps, the envelopes, the person that's got to stuff the envelope, everything. The cost is Think about the millions of dollars saved if they just eliminated that one duplicate letter. The second reminder. Just saying. I digress. Thank you, Stephen, for tolerating that. Brian Perez says, October 2025, I filed an appeal and it was sent back to the DDS, and they acknowledged they received the appeal on November 12th. And nothing has happened and nothing happened is that common. Yeah, so you I filed an appeal. So you know that it went to the DDS. You just don't know if there's an adjudicator on your case yet, right? Like you had an adjudicator on initial, Ryan, and whether you have one now assigned is a question. I would, you call SSA, they might know, the field office might be able to tell if you have an adjudicator. I'm not sure if they can. If you got a letter, you said, so you know that it's back of the DDS, you just don't know if you have an adjudicator. Is there a number that you can call at the DDS to find out? Like, how did you know it was at the DDS? So find out if there's a number you can call. If it goes on too long, so you're talking November, December, January, February, you're talking over 3 months. Maybe it's time, if you can't get any headway, I would try the field office first. If you don't have a number for the DDS, consider reaching out to your senator or your House of representative, the federal dudes, not the local. And I would pick the one that might be next up for election, because they just might care about you a little bit more right now. Okay. C. Farrat says, I just got out of my hearing today. Oh, after a federal remand. Oh, wow. And the VE, vocational expert, agreed with my attorney cross-examination that all RFE were poor. I don't know what RFE is. And what would be poor? And judge asked if I go to church, and I said, no, don't care for it. Now, I'm not sure why you had to add in the don't care for it. He didn't say why. You added a little bit more information than you probably should have. It might not be harmful. It shouldn't be harmful. But I'm just saying, that's a human up there. What if he's like some biased person? You don't know. I don't know. I think sometimes I'll ask a question like that. And this would be anyone, not a biased person. But because some people say I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't go to the store, I can't. But then every Sunday they're able to make it to church versus use the online church or something. So it just goes to show that they can. They maybe can't do it that much, but they can. And so it kind of goes from if they said they never do get out, they can't do this and the other thing, it kind of just shows that they just did. Now, you obviously defeated that, but I would just suggest when he asks yes or no to something, and it's not, there's no way it can help your case to add your little, I don't care for it, blah, blah. Because now you're almost actually saying, I don't go, not because I can't sit through it with my bad back, but because I just don't go to church. So you definitely didn't help yourself by adding that. You probably didn't hurt yourself either, but I'm just saying. You understand? VE agreed, I can't do any work. Well, just for the record, the VE doesn't talk about you. The VE talks about the hypotheticals that the judge and your lawyer presented to him. I know it's easy to think that all three, because remember, there's multiple hypotheticals, usually. So if there's multiple hypotheticals, which one are you? Because they have to eventually assign one to you, right? So it's not like I know what you're meaning. You're meaning that all the jobs that were presented, that you believe you have those symptoms that were limiting that the judge mentioned or your attorney mentioned, they said no jobs. I'm assuming there was no hypothetical presented by the judge where the VE produced jobs. If there was one early on where the VE said, oh yeah, this, with that RFC, there would be this, and this, then you don't know what, because if he wasn't talking about you, he was talking about the hypothetical person. So you do not know which hypothetical the judge is going to pick. But didn't you say you were on remand? I always find those to be usually very, in my experience, very good. I mean, I see judges being very willing to award after a remand. I know that doesn't always happen, and I'm sorry for anybody here who didn't, but in my experience, anyway. And it might be because when you're going back to remand, you use that time period for that new opportunity for a hearing to get more and more evidence. You're really, now you go to town because you know what the judge thought was week before. Now you know. You don't even have to guess. And you get to go and drill them on those areas while keeping up with all the others. And that's how you can get a case that the judge will be like, huh, yeah, now I've got the goods I need. And you don't really have to, show him up because you're showing him something different. You're not he doesn't have to say he was wrong before, and so he could still award you. Because now he has more evidence. So he can use that as kind of an excuse. And it's not really an excuse. It's true. You gave him more evidence to find you disabled, which is a good thing. Ryan says, is waiting since November 12th for the DDS to start the reconsideration process common? It was longer a few years ago. I've seen 15 months. That's extraordinary. But it was happening. I've had a few like that. I don't see them as long now. I have some that are just coming right from field office to bang, which is nice to see because it's been a few years where it was like frustrating, and lots of senators had it. You have to wait the county senator. We write to them. They want it on that form with the release. But so 3 months is getting a little long, I would say, because things have gotten a little better in the last year or so. But so you could find out, and you could shoot a letter up to your senator. If I don't know what area you're in, Ryan, but some states do a better job of workflow than other states because remember, it's the state that decides. They have to follow the federal law on the substance, but it's their employees and all that business. So whether maybe they don't hire enough people or train them well, I don't know. Mike Pace donated. You guys, this is awesome because pretty soon we get to take another 1%, which usually will be a younger person that can't get attorney help. So just that seems to be the hardest area for someone to get help. And it really depends on whether, keep in mind, it's not every young person we can consider, but if there is if you can see a path, if they get these proofs, I can see a path and increase their chances so much more of winning, even though they still have a very, very difficult case compared to everybody else, and there's still a good chance they won't win. But there's also a very better than usual chance for them that they could. Those are the kind of people we try to help because nobody wants to help them. Nobody with experience anyway, because they've learned that they can't keep the roof over their head very long if they do too much of those. So Mike says, you did me a great favor. Oh, super. What did I do? By providing me with a letter to send. Oh, I did. To send SSA to get my record. Okay. Which is very intense and meticulously reviewed. So you're correct. You have to document everything, get everything. Okay. Did we email or something and shot you over the form the way we have the things worded and attached to it? Sometimes people ask me for that, guys, if you ever need. That's a 3288. I think that's what you're talking about, right, Mike? So whenever someone asks for them, I just say email me, and we'll definitely send you what we have that we use. And doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. You still get very reticent field offices, and it goes to the field office. But that's the form we use, and it's the form that says, no, you cannot tell the person they can't order their whole file. And then you show them because their own form says you can't do that. You can't ask us for the whole file. You have to tell us what forms you want in that file. It's like a person's going to know what forms are in there to begin with if they see it, right? And they're not experts in the SSD law. And there is a POMS that says they can't do that. They can't restrict it. Yet their own form still says, we're not going to send it to you unless. I'm like, you are contradicting your own laws, rules, POMS. But anyway, that's super nice, Mike. Thanks. I appreciate that. RFC, Farhat says. Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is the RFC that the judge gave to the VE, whether he gave one or more, he made him so limited, those RFCs, that there were no jobs. And that so therefore, if there's no job ever mentioned in with your VE and your judge, that's really positive for you. So that's awesome, because that means the judge has no option he can't say, I'm going to find he can do X, Y, and Z job, even though the VE said he couldn't. It said that hypothetical person of the same RFC. So that's a good sign if that's what you're saying. So fingers crossed for you. And for sticking out the process, because I know it's really ugly. I might have mentioned this last week, but we got a win on a case for a young person. There's another reason why we could take another one. And just so you know the scope of how long it takes sometimes for a young person to prevail. This is an SSI case. He's probably been with me since COVID, I'm thinking. Maybe not. I don't know. It's been a long time, because we did a whole initial case, denied at ALJ, denied at appeals council, and we refiled again last summer, and we won. And the funny thing, I think I mentioned this last week, but it was so gratifying, because I said to him when we started, because he was very, very disappointed in life and comes from really, really hard places, and very, very distrusting of everyone that would say they would help, particularly lawyers, that then just blew him up. So I said at the time, listen, I'll stick with you, but you have to stick with me, and just treat everybody nice here, and I will stick with you, and he did, and he stuck with it after we were denied, because I said, sometimes they're not convinced until they see it for a longer period of time. And so sometimes the case is going to end with a loss, but then we refile. And with an SSI, you can always refile again and again and again. And it paid off, and we just filed again last summer. And the funnier thing about it too is that we got a denial in January, and I was getting all set to appeal it. And then he texts me a picture of we decided you're disabled. And I'm like, wow, we haven't even appealed. It was denied. I think that was a federal quality review of a denial that forwarded to an award. And I'm like, yeah, you never see that. You never see that. I mean, I guess you do, but that was amazing, particularly because it's a young person. And my heart goes out to the young people. It goes out to everybody, but the young people who didn't even get to go 50 years before becoming disabled, who, and had crappy childhoods with abuse and all this stuff. So that's my soft side. All right, moving on. It's just it was a really fabulous, that whole thing. All right. Ryan says, October 2025, I filed an appeal and it was sent back to the DDS. I think we're going through the same questions again. Did I go back up? I think I did. Sorry, guys. Yes, I did. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I did that. I was scrolling for something. Stephen Thompson says, ruling in my favor. I don't know where we left off, Stephen. Now I'm scrolling up again. See Stephen. I don't see it, Stephen. All right. Oh, okay. I see Michelle says, congrats to Stephen. So that's what we're talking about. A win. Okay. Very good. Rip is in the house. Hey, Rip. He says, hello, Stephanie. Asking for my neighbor. The ALJ cited 202.17 in his denial. Okay. I'm going to assume it's one of the non-disabled grids. But then said the claimant ability to perform light work has been impeded by additional limitations. Isn't that one of two? Isn't that, I think that means he's got another one. Internally inconsistent with 202. I don't have 202.17 in front of me, so I can't really speak to it. If you leaned on that to find my neighbor not disabled. Oh, so we're talking about your neighbor. All right, I don't have 202.17 in front of me. So who knows, maybe I could do a different video on that. But I will say this. There are times when we can't do the full range of light work because of certain limitations. And there are still jobs we can do because there's a reduced set of light work that the person can do. And of course, if we can do light work, we're generally held to be able to do sedentary work. There could be reasons why that might, in a rare instance, not be true. I can walk all day, but I can't sit all day. All right. So, but sometimes a reduced, like the light job base is eroded, but not so much that there's not still occupations within it that exist in substantial numbers in the economy that one can do. So it is that might be at play here. I am not sure. That's why you really got to work hard to get rid of all light jobs. You know, it's not always that easy. It depends on the judge, too. Rayford's in the house and says, my reconsideration took 3 weeks. That's awesome. Was it an award? If it was an award, that's awesome. Oh. Okay, so then Rayford was denied now on my hearing. So you had a reconsideration and they just rubber stamped the initial after 3 weeks. I've had a few of those. You could tell they weren't even like, they didn't even do the 2 requests for the records, and they're supposed to do that. Otherwise, then give us a chance to get them, and then they sometimes just blow it off and go tonk, tonk, tonk. I think they violated rules, but that's what the appeals are for. So they say we can't really do too much about that. Although I wonder if a reporting of it is not a bad idea. If on your reconsideration, I will bring this up too, guys. When you appeal for reconsideration, if you answer that there are no changes, your activities have not changed, because there's questions on the appeal form about that. You have no new conditions, your activities have not changed, and the symptoms and effects of any of your conditions have not changed. You're begging for another denial because they already decided that based on what you said, and you say it's not changed, you're not disabled. So never say that if you can think of one little thing that changed and got more restrictive, and invariably they do. It could even be anxiety. So I'm sorry they did that in 3 weeks. And I'm not saying you did what I'm talking about now, but I do see people do it all the time. So I just wanted to bring it up on your reconsideration. And if you're going to go to appeal for an ALJ, you always think long and hard about what has slowly gotten worse. It's hard to recognize because you're living with yourself every day. You don't see the slow demise or diminishment. It could be as simple as, I'm in that recliner chair probably an extra half hour a day. And you don't have to tell them it's only an extra half hour a day. You could say, I have to go recline more than I used to, more frequently to avoid pain increases. You don't have to give them specifics because you don't want to say it wrong, or you might not even be sure if it's what the exact amount is. It's so vague and nebulous. But if you know that you are kind of more in the recliner every day, you've gone to church less because it felt not as good, or whatever the case may be, then that's the kind of stuff that has something gotten worse as your activities change. One of those, preferably all of them, have a change, but if not, you want at least the activities. There's not always a new diagnosis to add, because that's like the third thing. There's those 3 things. Activities, have they changed? Do you have any new diagnoses or new impairments? And the third one is, has the condition changed? Not a new condition, but has the condition gotten worse or better? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, Rip, by the way, for 202.17, I'm going to look it up when we're done. So if I see a way to get back to that question, in fact, I should take a little bit note. Pardon me, guys. Maybe I'll pop out a video if I can. Black 305 is in the house. Hi there, Black. How can we stop Social Security AI bot from looking at medical records in the future? I'm not sure you would want to. They've been doing it for years, and it's what pulls out some of the best information. Why would you want to rely on a stupid eyeball of a human who's tired and overworked, like an adjudicator, to miss something really important when automation, that could be searching for a word. That's AI. You have a PDF and you do the search function. And you say, find all the words that say MRI, and then you get all your MRIs, and then you can look at them closely. So I'm not sure why you would want to. It's to your betterment. I'm pretty sure automation is what helps them make sure they don't miss compassionate allowances. I think AI is what helps them determine if something off the bat could be a listing that they want to delve further into. Why would you want to stop improvement? Just asking. I'm guessing you think that it's just all in the negative, like, oh, the AI bot sees I had a beer and it's going to stamp a denial. That, I think, is the furthest thing from the truth. I don't think that's true at all. Because remember, it's your robust evidence that's being considered. A lack of evidence can't be, and AI doesn't find a vacuum. That's just what you didn't put in. It's going to help pull out the things that you did put in that could be meaningful and helpful. So I don't know that it's a bad thing. And it's going to be doing it much faster for people, so people aren't waiting for 3 years. So I don't have a problem with it. Don't get me wrong. AI is scary in many ways. Like, things that I know that there's so much we don't know, which is the scary part. And I think it can be very, very abused. I don't have concerns about that at all in this field. But yeah, elsewhere I do, for sure. Outfish is in the house. I don't know if you're referring to, but it's super sweet. It says, this is why Steph is the best A lawyer that cares. Very sweet, Outfish. Are you a client of mine? I love it when I don't know. It's kind of funny. Delia G's in the house. Testing because I am having problems posting a question. Michelle thought she posted one too, and then I didn't see it, and then I did. It came up after. So I don't know, maybe hitting the enter button right? But I see that one, Delia, and I also see Delia says, yeah, it's not letting me post question. Well, you are posting it. My husband is ill and will be off work for up to 1 year for treatment. Oh, no. Yeah, prayers to you there, Delia, and your husband. His goal is to return to work and work till 67. He's currently going on 61. Wow, off work up to 1 year. That's a long time. I hope you guys are prepared. I'm glad you're in a better situation, perhaps, than you were last year. Me and you. Yeah, he's got 6 years to go. Yeah, because gosh forbid he has to take it at 62, Delia. That's like a 35% hit. If he takes early retirement at 62. I know sometimes people have to because they can't afford to not have work and they can't, wait till retirement. I wonder, is it something that you should file for disability for? Not something you necessarily have to decide now, and probably shouldn't. But if he is going to be disabled and out of work for 1 year, even after he goes back, he could file, if he does it in a timely fashion, for a closed period of disability, and he could get 7 of those 5 months paid for. 7 months times whatever his benefit is. Let's say his benefit is $2,000. That's $14,000. Let's say his benefit's $3,000. That's $21,000. Got to do my math here. So just a thought. Closed periods are just fine, and then he goes back to work and is off it. That would be kind of ideal, I suppose, to get some of that money back. Obviously not the amount that he earns. He probably earns a nice chunk of change, but it helps, right? Purpose-Filled Life says, I'm getting conflicting theories on filling out adult function report for CDR, continuing disability review benefits, to either put a lot or not a lot of info about depression, anxiety, especially on questions 5 and 6. It really depends. What was so much is going to depend on what you were found disabled under. What were all your diagnoses then, Purpose? What is your age? The vocational profile, is it better now than it was when you applied, which makes you have a little bit of edge? and assuming you've kept up with all the different kinds of treatments you were doing before, or at least for all the different impairments you had before, if you were completely one on mental health, then you got to put a lot of that depression, anxiety in that function report, because that's the only thing you have. But if you were, and usually it's more than one, it's usually not, people are not usually perfect hedonists and they're just mentally so bad they can't work. It happens, but that's not the majority of people. So much really depends on your vocational profile, purpose, as well as what you prevailed on before. What were your existing problems that you prevailed on back at your comparison point, which is when you last won or last had a CDR. So that would, for your vocational profile, that's your age primarily. There's three things, but education and experience, but age, age is the big thing. I wonder if you change an age category since you won. That would be to your benefit, generally speaking. Stephen Thompson, thank you. God, you got, what is it, like, because the tax refunds are so great? What's going on here? That's awesome. Steve Thompson just donated $10. No, that was the second part. So I think DDS doesn't believe me and why they are doing a CE. No, it has nothing to do with believing you. I mean, that your records are not ironclad. That's all. It has nothing to do with believing you. They can't award you on what you say. It's nothing personal, Stephen, I promise. Wait a minute. Is there for some reason, Stephen, I thought you were with a PH. I know that's immaterial, but just testing my memory there. If your medical evidence does not establish enough to get you over the hump of disabled, then they will, this is ostensibly what it's about, give you a little help by giving you a free exam with a doctor who can look to see if those things are evident. And it doesn't mean that the doctor is going to find enough to make it evident, but Steve goes on to say, I am a vet on TDIU for MDD. I believe that's major depressive disorder, panic attacks, PTSD, and anxiety, even with a federal judge ruling in my favor. Now, the federal judge, refresh me, Stephen, you got a remand. That federal judge did not say you were disabled or he would have done a reversal. He said you deserve a remand and to go back to the judge because the judge left something out of his leaving his way to you not being disabled, and the judge has to go and fill that in. Doesn't mean he's going to award you now, but he has to go back and do this other thing before he can make a decision of whether you meet the, something was left out that he didn't do. And you will find that in the federal district court's order, probably, what the judge left out. All right. And apparently the appeals council didn't catch it either, right? Because you had to go to federal court. Because the appeals council could have remanded it too. That's why it's a beautiful thing. You can go to federal court, get yourself all the way out of the SSA system, and have some more, I don't want to say unconflicted, but, you know, it's a different eyeballs. Different eyeballs in a different environment looking at it. Okay. So I wouldn't take it personally. It's not that they don't believe you. They can believe you, but it doesn't mean that you've met the required medical evidence, because what you say is not medical evidence, right? It's only what's in your medical records. On a Journey says, a lot of people are using AI, are against AI usage. That's why people don't want AI looking at medical records. Well, then you better go and erase the last 20 years of your life, because there's been AI for a very long time, guys. It is just now publicly known. And publicly available to the little guy. In some ways, it evens the playing field a little bit. It's definitely going to change things like other technologies did, of course. I mean, think about all the different professions that existed 70 years ago that don't exist now because of automation, AI. So, computers themselves are AI. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to use it in your life or anything, but you can't really stop, I think, others from being more efficient with it. Which in theory saves money or hours or does a better job. Delia says, I don't think his, meaning her husband's, job of 30 years will be safe for him to return to work. I don't know what his particular issue is, Delia, but if he stops working and a few months go by and he's got some clarity and you want me to take a look at it, let me know. We could, he can contact me or you or whoever. And Delia says, let's chat later. Thanks for all you do. You're welcome, Delia. I appreciate you. John says, thumbs up for you. Sorry, I've been really busy today. I will watch your replay. No worries. Thanks for popping in, John. Super sweet. That's John TB, not the other John. Adam in the house says, Stephanie, what would happen if at my 1 or 3 year review, so he's talking about a CDR, guys, a continuing disability review, for those of you that don't know that term, I'm told, and we have plenty of videos on it, I'm told that I can go back to work. What would happen if I am told I can go back to work, no longer disabled? Would my SSD payments get shrunk back to my normal retirement age of 62? First of all, 62 is not normal retirement age. That's early retirement age. So the amount of years you collect, I think this is what you're saying, Adam. Let's say you lose your SSD. You're no longer collecting SSD. The years that you were collecting are not going to count as zeros into your income calculation for your SSD. Your Social Security primary insurance amount upon which your SSD is based and your retirement is based is never going to reduce based on that, because those years of zero work and not paying in Social Security taxes are never going to be counted in the calculation of your thing. Now, what will count is, because your estimation already, which is what you got, which ended up being your SSD amount, because now you're not disabled, they're going to be looking at your top 35 years of work when calculating your PIA, and now you will no longer have any future years as being not included as zeros if you choose not to work because you're no longer disabled. So that can change your calculations. So if you don't, I don't think that's going to happen to you, Adam. I mean, just do your due diligence with your treatment. But if it were to happen, hopefully you can find a way to make some income. You can also make part-time income under SGA and apply again. If you think, like, let's say you've got a little weak on your treatment, you're like, oh, shoot, now I have a CDR and I don't have proof that I'm as bad as I was, or that I haven't improved. In fact, that I haven't treated, so it looks like I've improved, blah, blah. You can apply again as long as you have an insured status. And the insured status that you had before, that doesn't get used up while you're on disability, so you'll probably still have some time left over. But if you want to extend that DLI, and you guys know I'm all about DLI. And by the way, we do have that thing up and running I was talking about. Clients don't have to worry about this. In fact, we just changed our intake where they do not have to call the SSA to get their date last insured anymore if they can get their earnings statement to us. And then we have a few team members who will go through the numbers and figure out their date last insured for them based on the information they give us. So it's got to be an accurate earnings statement. But for everyone else, it is it's not that expensive. It's just a little one-time fee, and someone will put that hour in for you or whatever it's going to cost and get you your DLI. If you need your DLI, I always think everybody should have it. It's very, very important if you're going to start a case. It's important if you don't know it and you're in a case. You can always call SSA to get it. You could probably call the 1-800 number or the field office. So it's not something you have to pay for to get. It's just if you don't want to do that whole burden of calling the SSA and trying to get it. As far as I know, the DLI is not available online. I don't know why. I feel like it should be. They'll tell you, well, I shouldn't say that. That's not true. get a DLI is not. If you have not applied yet, and you go get your annual Social Security earnings statement from your SSA.gov account, there's a section that you can look at that says, if you became disabled today, you have enough credits. You know your DLI is good today. You just don't know if it's gonna expire next quarter, the following quarter. It's gonna be sorry, Tosh. It's gonna be some quarter in the future. We all have an expiration date on our DLIs. And most of us, if we're still working, we're pushing that out. So it's always 5 years ahead of us. But if you stopped working, it's going to be something short of 5 years. Well, potentially, not necessarily, because you look at a 10-year window. Long story, there's other videos. But it's a charting thing we do. It's just basically math. It's not even hard math. It's just that you have to focus and concentrate a lot, because you have to backtrack each quarter and see at any given time, do I have 20 quarterly credits in my last 40 quarters? 40 quarters from when I say I was disabled. Now, if you said you're disabled last year, from there and back, did you have the quarters? Okay, then you could go with that date. What about if you lose on that date and now you are like, well, but okay, so at least disabled as of this date. Are you still insured? So it's kind of it's a paper chart, and you literally put in whether it's 3 quarters earned that year, 2 quarters, blah blah, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. It's a charting thing. But anyway, we do have, and I suppose I could put the page up if I could. If you guys need it, anybody that needs it and wants to order that, you can. All of that goes towards this whole mission as well. It's not part of the regular fee structure we have for keeping the practice otherwise floating and the people paid. All right. For VA on federal judge. Oh, for vet, yeah. It's a whole different definition. I have a video on that, Stephen, or 2 or 3. I even did one on the TDIU, because it is frustrating for people who are on TDIU to not understand why they are not found disabled. There's a different standard of how they look at evidence and stuff like that. So, and what their finding actually meant is so different. It's definitely very different for P&T. People get very surprised, and I'm like, nah, because P&T really doesn't mean you can't work. It's entirely different. Let's see. John TV says, I'm going to sell my blood plasma. Pays $100, huh? Pays $100 each time and can be done twice a week. Really, you do it twice a week? Funny story, if anyone wants to hear digress. I went to Rutgers undergrad, and I was a poor kid. And I was a freshman, and this is in New Brunswick, living in a dorm, and some dorm mates, a bunch of guys and a couple girls, were going to go donate plasma. It was $15. So this was, keep in mind, I'm old, right? So this must have been in 80, I think it was probably fall of 85. That was when I was a freshman in college. So I graduated high school in 85. So I was a country bumpkin girl. So I just kind of followed them. We took a bus, to go make $15. We took a bus, I think it was to North Brunswick. So the city kids knew how to get around, my schoolmates that were from the town, the city. And we donated, took a turn, got a finger prick, in the recliner, donating the plasma. They took out 2 pints of blood. What they did then, I don't know if they still do it now. 2 pints of blood. They put it through a machine, take the plasma out, and give you back your blood. Well, apparently I fainted because, or I should say, I didn't faint. I was in a chair, and you're squeezing the ball, and it's pretty relaxing, I guess. And then next thing I know, people are yelling at me and stuff. I had slipped where I was hanging off the thing because I had completely gone. My eyes were open, they said, and lights were out. I guess I lost a little bit too much oxygen with the 2 pints that came out. I mean, I'm kind of a short person. I guess that's why. But I'm kind of sturdy, so that was surprising to me. But yeah, and they put your blood back in, and then I went home and I was fine. But pretty funny, huh? Can you believe that? And I've donated blood ever since, but they don't take 2 pints out. They only take 1. So I've always been okay with that, I think. Did I pass that once? Oh, I don't remember. But I donate blood pretty regularly, although I will say it's probably been a few years now. But yeah, I mean, as long as you're not on SSI with that. It's funny, that's a good question. If you're on SSI and you sell your blood plasma for $100, you'd like to think that if your blood plasma is worth, you're giving up $100 and you're getting $100, you've made 0 in net income. I'm not saying this as legal advice, guys. I'm just asking the question. Would that be a way? You got $100 cash coming in now. I can't say it would work, but it's an interesting thought. And for SSD, obviously you don't have the same constriction, so and it's definitely not work activity, that's for sure. But with SSI, income in, selling a TV and getting the income in, you're converting your item, including your plasma, into cash, and now it can be used to support you. So I think with SSI, it wouldn't work. I think it would be a problem. Purpose-Filled Life says, thank you and bless you for your help. It can be a nerve-wracking ordeal. I know it is. Just hang in there. Keep learning. And just, persevere through the tough times, and just keep your eye on what will help you persevere, I think. Sirens in the house. The VE also said there were no jobs in the national economy I could do. Okay, again, I'm just going to reiterate that I know you guys like to say the VE said I can't do that. The VE's not talking about you. The VE's talking about the hypothetical that the judge gave them or your lawyer gave them. I get the kind of mix up with that. And I have to keep bringing it up because sometimes there's multiple hypotheticals given to the VE, and they didn't all have all throughout 0 jobs. But I do notice that claimants sometimes grab on the one that's variable and say, see, he found that. I can't do anything. No, the judge didn't find that you matched that one. The judge could find you matched the one before that he gave the VE. So I just want to always reiterate that. Steven says, okay, I'll go find the video. I'm also subscribed. Thank you. I'm glad you're subscribed, Steven. That's wonderful. Thank you. And thanks for your generosity. Rip says, that's another frustrating thing with the SSA. How can the appeals council say 85% of the cases they review are wrong? The appeals council doesn't say 85% of the cases they review are wrong. That's not the percentage of appeal remands. But federal courts remand so many. Well, here's the thing. The ones that go to federal court, Rip, more often than not, they have an attorney. And the attorney only takes the ones that are got a good chance of winning it. So there's a ton, a boatload that are not going to federal court at all, got denied it at appeals council, are not good candidates to get overturned at all, and never go to federal court. So you have to think about which percentage attorneys are accepting to go to federal court. And that I think might be what you're missing. And I don't know what the numbers are. They're probably available, maybe. I don't know. So think about it. Appeals court to federal court, if 1% of denied, and I'm just pulling this number out of my yank, if 1% of denied appeals council cases actually get the benefit of going to federal district court, some lawyer thought it was a strong enough case, yeah, I definitely, then there's 99% that probably would not have won at federal district court. Just saying. You follow? So that really the numbers are not as necessarily like you think they are, or as bad as you think they are, because you're not looking at the proper number set. All right. And I only say that because I was a math person. I was a math minor in college. Can you believe it? I wanted to be an actuary because I heard they made a lot of money, and I was a poor girl. But I did. I didn't become an actuary. I was screwing around too much. Anyway, Rip, I hope that did that make sense, what I just said? Did you get the picture? Purpose-Filled Life says, function report is for my son, 30 years old, with worsening bipolar and severe anxiety. I'm so sorry, Mama, because I'm a mom, and for all parents out there, God, what we wouldn't do for our kids, even when they're jerks. You know what I mean? And when they have illness of any kind, it's like, oh my God, what we wouldn't do to take it upon ourselves so they don't have it. It breaks my heart. For the parents, not just for the kids. Should we put a lot of info on question 5 or 6 or keep it simple? So you said he already prevailed though, right? Well, first of all, the form space speaks to how much your max should probably be. You know what I mean? Like, they give you this much space. Don't be sending 3 books of attachments. Use that space. If that helps. Does that help? I would be talking about the diagnoses. They know the diagnoses. But you could just say when the symptoms are bad and what they do. Whether it makes him not able to communicate with other people without being inappropriate. If the anxiety prevents him from leaving home, and the frequency and how durational. Look at his old function report purpose and see what that said. Is he better or is he worse? If he's worse, maybe just say, this part's gotten worse. You know, I wouldn't refer them back to the old one. I would actually kind of more like probably, because I would probably more like use it and then duplicate it, reword it to what's applicable now, and just say, this has gotten worse since 2022 or whenever he was last, determined to be disabled. Back then he could sometimes still get out to go to the therapist's office. Now it's entirely telehealth because he can't leave at all. Or, whatever his symptoms are doing now, that's potentially what you might want to look at and focus on. But I wouldn't do the long. If what you mean by long is extra pages, definitely not. I don't think people should do that at all, period. The trick is getting the salient points that are relevant to that person's impairments that would affect their disability finding in that small space. That means no full sentences are ever needed, guys. You could do like a phrase, a dash, and then like all the things. Don't be looking like you have to write the Queen's English or the King's. Ranta is in the house. Ranta says, my benefit verification letter was posted today, but at a 0 amount. Can you tell me why? I don't know your case, so I can't. It doesn't sound good. Did you have a case? Did you lose it? Did you win it? Do you know, like, what's your path up to this point? John says, my blood will be full of sawdust. They're going to put it back in you, though, right? Because it's funny how we can sell our plasma, but I don't think we can sell our blood, because is that considered like how we can't sell organs? I think it's something like that, right? Are we really selling our plasma, or are we getting paid for our time to donate our plasma? I'm not even sure what the legality is there and the little terminology that has to be used. Because sometimes it's like certain procedures that I will name will be unmentioned because they're a little controversial, very controversial, sadly so. But you can't do a procedure and sell what comes out of that procedure as the income for the person doing the procedure. They can just get paid for the efforts to do the procedure, in theory. Does that make sense? Then they donate those things, or they, make some other way of using the byproducts. It's all terminology. It's kind of nasty. All right. Purpose says, yes, he's been collecting benefits for 3 years. He's been questioned on adult function report. Yes, it keeps him from leaving home. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Now you just want to hug them and make it all better, right? And we never know how to fix that hurt, you know. Look at his old one. I would look at his old. I hope you have all that old stuff. Is his treatment as robust as it was? Does he need more treatment than he had? Has he had things in the last year or two with extra vigorous treatment, like electric this or anything like that? Or did he have to step up therapy from 1 day a week to 2 days a week? Those things can be indicative of not just not improving, but of needing more structure and help, because what was is not even enough now. All right. John, yeah, John's as close as me. Let me know. I'm curious. I'm thinking I might go donate some plasma myself. Think about that. Did you say twice a week? That's like $800 a month. That could pay rent. I don't pay rent, but that's my mortgage. I have a really good mortgage. I am moving now. Then I won't have such a good mortgage. I'm hoping I can get down to a very good mortgage again. But all right, Saint PR. Hi, is there any? Nice to meet you. I don't think we've met. Hi, is there any difference in just receiving a daily activity form only? This is my second time applying with an offset. Do you mean an onset date? From April 2023. I have now severe radiculopathy apart from back problems. I'm so sorry, Sam. Difference in what? What do you mean just an daily activity form only? Meaning because you didn't get a work history report? Have you when you applied, if you said you had no jobs in the last 5 years, then there's no work history report to request work history details, because there's no relevant work in the last 5 years that would be relevant to the question of can you do your prior work, because the jobs from 6 years ago don't count. It's to your benefit that actually. In other words, you definitely passed step 4. Now you just work about step 5. John says, I'm thinking it could pay for me to get health insurance when I step. Oh, yeah, I remember that was your issue. I hear you. That's a great idea, John. Okay, so let's hear this. So this is just thrown out there, guys. A lot of people, clients as well as non-clients, say, I don't have health insurance. I can't get treatment. I'm screwed. Yes, you are. My first thing is always, did you apply for Medicaid? Whatever your state has, did you apply for that? Get it. Apply tomorrow. It can take a number of weeks, if not months, to get them to do all their little work and get you on board. If you are not eligible for it, let's say you have a spouse that earns a hair too much and it's all that craziness, then and his or her job does not provide you the option of family coverage for a spouse to get on there, you guys just pay a little premium extra. Let's say that's not part of the equation, or you're single. Even with SSI, that wouldn't be so much money that you would lose your case. You might lose a lot of the money later while you're doing it, but that's not the point, right? That's amazing, John. If you can't work, but you can get to this little clinic that collects plasma and pays $100, that's kind of brilliant. I'm not recommending it, guys, because there's so many. Everyone's got their own personal thing. Maybe it's bad for you to donate plasma, meaning you, any particular individual. So this is not advice, but it is an interesting idea, John. I'm flabbergasted. I can't believe that's $100. I was thinking, if it's $50, you spend 2 hours. It's like, oh, God, and you spent gas. And remember when I was 17, I guess I just turned 18 because I graduated high school at 17. So I think I was 18, like the week before I went away to college for my first time. And for $15, I mean, we paid for the bus, but it was so much cheaper then. We're talking mid 80s. I mean, this is like half century ago, practically, right? 40 years ago. But it's so funny. That's really, I'm gonna have to look into this, John, because I got some kids. Well, one of them's under 18, so he can't do it. But I got one who's 19, and she's a very go-getter. like works her butt off and everything. But also doesn't like BS and people give BS and bad managers and stuff like that. God, I should tell her about it. That's so funny. Because imagine a young person. Sorry, I got to get back into this. Being able to put aside, let's say it's even $700 a month, by doing this twice a week for a couple hours by coming and going. And they make that their stash. They can build up an investment account. They can get an investment advisor. I'm not kidding. I'm all about young people starting early because I didn't. I mean, it took a lot of years building the business on top of that. I mean, now we're doing good, and we're modest people. So for us, good is not like, 3-car garage good. But my goodness, what a difference that could make. If a person needs to, every dollar they make working is going towards paying their rent and their car payment and their insurance. And, that sucks out every dollar. A lot of people don't even make enough to do that. Particularly if they're unskilled and haven't gotten a skill where they're still making like $15 an hour. Imagine that. John, that's really cool that you brought that up. Totally an aside, but very cool. I'm going to talk to my daughter about it. Be like, consider this. Look this up. Because she's money hungry. She'll do it. She likes to save. She's already got enough for a financial advisor. And she's been working since she was 14. She got working papers during COVID. I used to drive her to this little pet store, and she saved a lot of it. And then we also started that little business when the kids were smaller for them, and we volunteered and drove them around to do it. It's like a garbage can curbing business. So she still has that too. So it helps. All right. Saint says, I have my 40 work credits. The judge denied me the first time. You don't need... Okay, 40 is for retirement, which is vested. You'll always be eligible for retirement once you have your 40. Disability has slightly different credit workings there, Saint. It's the 20 credits in the last 40 quarters. So basically 20 credits in the last 10 years, quarter by quarter, backwards 10 years. Okay. So it's when you earn them is very important for disability. It's not important for retirement. Okay, so he says, I'm squinting here. The judge denied me the first time only 3 sedentary jobs, but wasn't sure if they go back and look at the paperwork for my first claim. I'm not sure what that part means. Saint. You need to find out your DLI, Saint. And you could probably, if you haven't worked since your last judge's denial, his decision will have your DLI in it, so you don't have to call. And you certainly you don't have to pay to have someone do it for you. Your old ALJ decision will say, and this is assuming you haven't extended it further to the future from that date. That'll have the date that it was then. And if you haven't worked since, that date probably still remains. Okay. Brown-eyed's in the house. Brown-eyed girl. Can anyone request a complete copy of our SS file at any time? Yes. Anyone can do that. They may try to charge you. And the last, not that I've looked it up recently, but in the past, there was something written, I believe, by the SSA, that if you do not have, if it's not for program purposes, they can charge. But I thought that was also limited to $10. Now, granted, that's before all that inflation of the last, 4 or 5 years ago. But yes, you can. And you could use that 3288, and if you need a copy, email me and I'll make sure you get one of the one we use with the extra obnoxious verbiage in it. That's what I do. And I like to think that, let's say someone is, I would like to think if someone says, I want a copy of my SS file because I need to look at it to see, might not fly if you've never applied. I was going to say, see if I should apply and if I'm going to apply or whatever. But if you're asking for your SS file, I assume that's because you had a disability case, right, brown-eyed girl? And are you saying you're after it now? Are you in payment right now on SSD? Because I'd like to think if they say we don't charge you if it's for program purposes, we'll give you one copy if it's for program purposes. Well, if you have a claim and you want to know what all made it, that's for program. I need to review it so I know with my CDR coming up, which by law I have to have one. So this is program purposes. That would be a reason. And then not have to be charged. But you should be able to get it whether you get charged or not. Okay. John says, I'm definitely going to check it out. Almost sounds too good to be true. Oh, so you're not sure yet? Was it like be careful of where it is too. Make sure it's like a medical office or something. Like, I mean, the one I went to was totally legit. You know, North Brunswick, New Jersey. Yeah, but they did pay then, so that sounds promising. I mean, they, in that sense, it's been something that has legitimately existed and probably still does. I just want to know if it's $100. $50 might not be worth the time. $100, and who knows? Maybe $50 is worth the time because you just sit there and be lazy and play on your phone. I mean, you don't have to do anything. Read a book, you know, whatever. That's funny. All right, I think are we done with questions, guys? We are approaching 2-hour mark. We're not quite there yet. So feel free to put in your questions. And I will definitely take a few more if you want. What is that? Why does that say hi? Oh, that was John. Sorry. So yeah, no more questions. So anything else, guys, that I think that an upcoming video is going to be on some things to think about and not really air in certain ways when you're at ALJ hearing if the judge asks certain questions. Just that if he asks them, you need to be prepared to answer them. And there are things you can explain about your answer if your answer would otherwise be a little damaging, potentially. That extra details you can add to show that it shouldn't be. And so I think that's something I'm going to do. One of the next ones, I guess. Yeah, I think so. Because I see people asking about it, and it might just be worthwhile. Okay. But anyone have a video they think, post it in one of the comments. Just say, can you do a video on this? If it's video doable, I'll do it. It might not be today or tomorrow, but I'll definitely put it on the list, okay? And yeah, just look back for it. I'll tell you if I'm going to do it. Once I tell you I'm going to do it, and if I respond back, I can't really find that post again readily. If I don't respond to the post, ironically, it'll stay in this list of unresponded to, which is always very short or 0, because I get back to everybody, at least with a hello or a like and a heart. But so sometimes I don't want to respond because I'm like, I might do a video on that. And then I don't want it to lose it because if I do the video, I want to give it to that person first. So sometimes I'll do it as like an unlisted there. So only he and anyone who happens to be reading that can see the link. Not because I don't want everybody else to have it, but because I don't publish more than one a day, except when we make a boo-boo, which we do sometimes, as you all know. All right. So I think we're good. I don't see any more questions. Everybody set? Have a great week. Please come back next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please watch the 12 p.m. recordings. They are really helpful. They're kind of what drive. This doesn't drive this channel, believe it or not. The reporteds do. The pre-recordeds that come out of 12. So that would be appreciated, guys. I appreciate, and again, throw up those questions, and I will definitely. What does that mean? Starred. Oh yeah, you guys were so very kind and generous. I'm just, yeah, really over the top today. So I appreciate. Thank you guys. Like, subscribe, share, as Christina would say. And I will see you next week, and hopefully see you at the 12 p.m.s every day of the week. And any questions, put them in any video. You don't have to go find a video that matches your question. Or you can put it on the... There's like 2 kind of general pages, and I never know how to get to one of them, but I bumped into it by accident. So maybe just put it on a video page. That might be That might be best because I see all of those. All right. Be safe, guys. Stay warm for those of you in the cold areas like myself. Can't wait for spring. And I will talk to you soon. God bless.